It's daybreak on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We begin with this day, and it's leading with 152 days to 2023 polls. Obi set to disrupt deadlock presidential run. Deary says PDP will emerge stronger and victorious despite the crisis in the party. And NPC Limited spent 94.7% of August oil gas revenue on petrol subsidy. You can find out about that report in this day.
All right, let's look at the Nation newspaper. There's quiet in PDP NWC over a 10 billion nomination fees with some riders. Their members complain about depletion of cash to 1 billion naira. Controversy over bribery lingers. Okowa seeks Saraki's intervention over Wike's threat to boycott presidential campaigns. Petrol subsidy hits 2.57 trillion as supply rises by 10%. And then just above the nameplate of the Nation, anti-oil theft, IG confirms seizure of 123 vessels. Can president to youths, don't be politicians' body shields.
Two major headlines on the front page of the Punch this morning. First one, politics insecurity. Demand for bulletproof vehicles, special security gadgets surges. Some riders, VIPs, politicians, others procure armored SUVs. Demand overwhelms dealers. Suppliers confirm increased demand. Sales experts worry over killings, kidnappings. Meanwhile, pro-democracy groups saying politicians' actions show 2023 polls may not be violence-free. And just below that, Nigeria at 62. End ASU strike now. That's the can, and they're telling the federal government.
The Nigerian Tribune, is leading with the elections as well. 2023 polls, states to watch as campaigns kick off this week. It's on page 2. The campaigns begin on Wednesday. NDLEA arrests 75-year-old man, 27 others over drugs seized in 77 states. Pencom approves 25% withdrawal from RSA balance as equity contribution for mortgages. PDP, APC, Becker as Osun Tribunal begins sitting.
Right, more airlines depart empty as charges rejection stifle exports. Let me just take some of the riders there. Air freight import to export ratio slumps to 87-13, that's the ratio. Stakeholders condemn overseas ban of local yam, beans, smoked fishes, ginger, others. All right, let's just do it there.
Some international papers, The Independent this morning. Leading headline, Starmer fears reversing tax court will cost election. And that photo there of Sir Keir Starmer and Deputy Angela Rayner singing the national anthem at the opening of the party conference.
The Financial Times, Kwarteng pledges more tax cuts as Tory fears for sterling mount, and Kiev allies warn Putin on dangers for Russia enacting on nuclear threats.
And Daily Express front page, Truss pledges to build world-beating economy.
For the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at this day. And a deep report there says 152 days to the polls, less than 48 hours to the beginning, official start of campaign. Obi set to disrupt deadlock presidential run. That rider there says this day's survey predicts inconclusive poll at first ballot if elections were held today, and also something to expect. This day will launch a major poll in October with renowned global partner. I'm sure you've read this report. What are some of your takeouts from this report? For me, one of it is the switch from the last report about the Labour Party presidential candidate, Obi. I remember that last report was mainly focusing on how his supporters are on social media and they're not really actualizing in reality. But now it's calling Obi a disruptor, being that he will disrupt the election, the numbers of the votes from the other candidates, and there might be a deadlock in that election.
Yeah, well, Nkechi, good morning. It's the start of the working week. Kenneth, Indy, so nice to see you guys again. Yeah, yes, that's an interesting story, and this day in its in its very unique style, it's already putting numbers and days to it. It's almost a grim reminder that the days are upon us. 150 or so days to the 23 election. Of course, like you pointed out, Nkechi, 48 hours barely to the kickoff of elections. And this story is just telling you the state of preparedness and how these campaigns are going to go into the election. For instance, like you noted, yes, while Obi in the past, there's been a shift, a tremendous shift in the Obi storyline, which is the fact that he's no longer what a lot of people were trying to read off as a Facebook sensation or social media sensation. We're beginning to see actual number on the ground. We're beginning to see real people on the ground standing with him, chanting his name, saying that they prefer him. The rally in Abuja also with a dramatic part of it where a couple came out of church and were running after it. That was also celebrated by what we now call the obedient movement. Initially, it was not such a very illegal term, but now you can actually, it's gone into the lexicon of this campaign, the obedient movement or the obedient crowd. So it's telling you the state of preparedness. The story is very rich in the sense that, again, it's focusing on individuals on these campaigns and telling you how they are going to eat. Of course, Atiku is going into these campaigns with the backlog of the Wike crisis and the crisis of course, coming together and those issues that they're having. The APC too is going into this campaign with the serious issue of records, the record of its 8-year record that has been questioned, and the growing disaffection and anger in the polity against its performance. So that is how they are going into this. Obi, of course, having that momentum now on his side, and like the papers say, being a disruptor, someone that is able to, change the game for either side of this divide. Kwankwaso is not getting so much of that kind of that kind of assessment, but saying that look, he's also in the race. I think it's going to be it's still going to be a two-way or three-way campaign. But whether I like it or not, Obi, Kwankwaso are going to be major decider, and like the paper say, disruptor in whatever calculation anyone was having around this issue.
Well, this report in this day, Emmanuel, comes as the Economist Intelligence Unit, an arm of the Economist of London, predicted that the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will win the 2023 presidential election. So how do we balance these two?
That's again the problem with polling and projection, and I think that's why this day newspaper is already reporting that it's going to go into partnership with a global partner that is going to be able to help in doing those predictions, because you have to be careful how you call it out. These polls are subject to all sorts of things. There is the polling that are done. You have to be very careful with those polling, because what parameters are you taking into place, and then you know that in every electoral cycle, there's always that October, what they call in some elections, especially the United States election, you have what is called the October surprise. A decider, something that happens along the way that changes the equation altogether. So it might be too early to call this election for anybody, but it's going to be interesting on how we focus on what's happening in the campaigns, how they are being received, especially when the campaign kicks off. And so beyond any other kind of polling, what matters is the person on the street. What are they going to vote for? What are the undecided voters at this point? So these factors are very important. So in making the kind of prediction that the economic, the body that just made that for, call it out for the APC candidate, it's difficult also to see whether they are using all the other indexes on ground, and whether they are also they also know that things could change along the way, because as I speak to you, there are still a chunk of the voters who are still undecided. There might be also people who are thinking that, okay, fine, let us take this, let's make that decision, let's take this decision. So all that will go into polling, and I think that's why the paper wants to partner with a global body on that. So because polling a very tricky business in this game, and you have to be careful how you call it for a candidate or how you call it for a campaign or for a party, because there are many things involved. It's not just a one-off thing. And then of course there will be shocks along the way. There will be changes. There will be other things that could just change the tenure and the texture of a campaign. So polling is a tricky business, and we cannot just take one off and run with it.
Neither here nor there. All right, let's look at the Nation newspapers. Interesting stories there. The headline, of course, there's quiet in PDP, NWC, over 10 billion nomination fees. Okowa is asking Saraki to intervene over Wike's threat to boycott presidential campaigns. That's one. Then just above the nameplate, why we have not endorsed P2B. This is coming from Ohanaeze as Oyetola Adeleke trade wars at tribunal begins sitting. Then the police chief is saying that he's confirming seizure of 123 vessels. You want to look at these three separate stories?
Yeah, actually two separate stories, because the first two are about these campaigns again and the crisis we're talking about generally, how these parties are getting ready for the campaign and the lingering issue within their campaign. The PDP is still dealing with a Wike problem up to now, and looking for ways of how to solve it. And it's not actually Uhuru for even the Peter Obi, because his base, Ohanaeze, the Ohanaeze group, the Ohanaeze Indigo group, have not actually, like they say, come out to endorse him. And in that story, they are telling their reason. Because if this election is going to be a sectional one, like a lot of people are saying, that many of these candidates are going to latch on to their sectional vote. For instance, Peter Obi is going to go for the Southeast vote, is going to go for the South-South vote, and is going to take regional votes. That story is very important. Why is Ohanaeze not speaking out? How cohesive is the Southeast around his candidacy and the person of Peter Obi? I think that story is speaking to that. And then, of course, the issue of PDP, their big issue, the big masquerade in the room, Wike. What are they doing to appease him further? Is Saraki going to be able to pull it off? We saw pictures of Okowa and Saraki smiling and talking about it. Does Wike listen to Saraki? As a matter of fact, is Wike going to listen to anybody at this point? Well, that we're going to see. But as they head into this campaigns, these are serious issue. Of course, the other thing that IG is talking about is good news. We've been talking about oil theft. We've been saying that it's at the base of the crisis of the economy. So if we're getting stories like this from the IG confirming that, look, there are those seizures happening on the seas, and that's more monitoring, more surveillance is yielding more results, it's good news, and one that should be celebrated, like the Nation newspaper is celebrating it on its cover.
Emmanuel, not so good news on the Punch newspapers reporting that bulletproof vehicles, special security gadgets, that their demand is surging and suppliers are overwhelmed. What is going on? It's reporting that VIP politicians and others are procuring these armored SUVs, and experts are worrying about this. Even some pro-democracy groups are saying that this action shows that the 2023 polls may not be violence-free.
Yes, Nkechi, is worrisome because, I think it's INEC the other, in one of the reports that we monitored and we reviewed, where INEC was saying that politicians are starting to treat the 2023 election like war. That word was used, war. And you have all these, campaigners going around saying that, look, it's let's vote and let's not fight. There are all those sound bites, even from all from the CSOs and all the groups, saying that we shouldn't have a crisis. But yes, if you see the build-up and how this purchases that Punch is reporting, very interesting story. Punch is reporting there that people are purchasing, a bulletproof vehicle as if they are going into war. That should be worrisome, and it's an interesting story because yes, it talks to the kind of elections we're going to have up ahead. Why are these politicians picking a bulletproof vehicle? Why has it gone to that? Is it a matter of life and death now? We remember what Jonathan said, the former president Jonathan, that no election is worth anybody's blood. Certainly not his own election is worth anybody's human blood, because at the end of the day, you need to be alive to even to enjoy the dividends of democracy. So that's, of course, those who are talking about those things need to talk about it more and tell people that, look, it's not about war. The same people who are purchasing the bulletproof vehicles and bulletproof vests will actually unleash their adherents or their followers or their disciples on the streets. And those ones are not covered. Those ones don't have any bulletproof. So it's a matter of thinking. People should put on their thinking cap and ask themselves what they're dying for or what they're fighting for. They should be living for something. And I think that will also be part and parcel of the kind of stories we'll be telling. That, look, if you're a serious contender and you are a real leader and you love your people, you will not send them to war. You rather send them to, and you will not put them in harm's way while you are defending yourself. So a story like this in a punch is, an eye-opener for those who are ready to take to the street and fight and lose their lives in the course of doing that. The people that they're doing this for are busy trying to arm themselves, get ready, protect themselves. Certainly their families too, because their sons and daughters will not be on the streets when they are thugs and the people they send out there for pittance to go and fight for them. So this is speaking to that, and I think the more we talk about it, the more we tell people that, look, don't go and fight, don't go and kill yourself. The people that you are doing this for, and the causes you are doing this for, it's not even worth it, because they are there trying to arm themselves and to protect themselves while they unleash you on the street.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello. We're optimistic that the election will turn out just fine. And that's the press preview. Let's hear your views on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaybreak.